Hello everyone, I'm Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, and I decided to make this YouTube channel today. This is my second video. I want to talk a little bit about myself and where I come from and my educational background and, basically what got me here. So I want to start with, I was born and raised in Missouri, Sedalia, Missouri, to be exact. I started my spiritual journey when I purchased my first tarot card deck in 1999, I believe. And I fell in love, as you do. And it was just a basic Rider-Waite deck, but it opened the doorway to so much more, so much more. So I began to study not just the tarot, but I read tarot philosophy books, I read tarot psychology books, tarot 101 books, tarot books. And that kind of started me on magic and witchcraft. I began with Wicca, as we all kind of tend to do. I learned all about it from Scott Cunningham, solitary Wicca for the solitary practitioner, and then living Wicca and earth magic, earth power, and then earth, air, fire, and water. I've exhausted all I could from them, so I started to really branch out and to read other authors, and I began to realize that I do want to practice magic, I do want to work with deities, but I found in my reading, and still now to this day, not really buying the whole threefold law thing. It doesn't apply, I think, to everyone. If you want to adopt it as your own personal moral and ethical standards, go right ahead. Thing is, the whole law of three, it's kind of once you know, you can't unknow, but the law of three is based on a part of a fictional novel that Gerald Gardner wrote. I can't understand the threefold law as pertaining to the real world, because when my hang up is physics and science, I know from Newton's first law of motion, everything comes back equally. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I can put my faith in science and physics. I cannot put my faith on a fictional novel. So calling myself Wiccan, kind of, it's not really what I'm about. If I had to pin it down and put a label on myself, I am very much an eclectic pagan, maybe neo-Wiccan. But yeah, that whole rule of three and harm none, not for me. Back in the past, witches, they didn't have the rule of three, and we're talking about slavery. and we're talking about black slavery, they had to learn how to defend themselves against their abusers. So there was no rule of three back then. And there was no huge, dire consequences for practicing black magic. To me, magic just is. It is not black or white. It is very gray. And if you think that, oh, I'm going to do spell work, but I don't want to use manipulation or anything like that. Well, the thing is, every form of magic is some form of manipulation. So to say, oh, I'm going to practice witchcraft, but I'm not going to practice any manipulation, you will be doing 0 spells. So, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay, I've rambled about that enough. So in my adult career, I'm a tarot reader. I am a metaphysical minister and metaphysical practitioner. I am working on my master's in metaphysical counseling. And I'm not going to say that I am a generational natural witch. I am a scholarly one. I didn't just pop out of the womb knowing how to make tinctures. I learned it through the tarot. Yes, it's a gateway drug. It sure is, 100%. So when I began to practice witchcraft for the first time, I actually started a little coven. And there were 5 of us. And we had an elemental system. I represented fire. Shocker. It was a lot of fun until it wasn't. And since then, I have not been in a coven. Now, I do have some witchy friends, and we get together and we do ritual together, usually for the Sabbats. But I'm not really interested in working with a coven. I'm interested in working for things for myself. And I know a lot of people who will judge and say, well, it's your craft should be helping other people. I do that every day at work. When I come home and I want to do witchcraft, it is usually, not always, but usually for myself. Why don't I do spell work for other people? I do not do spell work for other people. I will make them a tincture or a headache tea or something else. But for a specific spell, you have to have that emotional attachment, in my opinion, for spell work to come to fruition. If I don't know who you are and you're a complete stranger to me, I don't know where you're coming from. So I'm not going to put any oomph in it, because you have to provide that oomph for yourself. So no, I don't do spell work for other people. I am a mentor. I do take mentorships. I do teach spell work consultation. I teach a tarot spell work. I teach Tarot 101. I teach spell work construction and timing, which is my favorite class to teach. I teach psychic shielding. and I'm learning more about the Celtic tree ogham. It's difficult, so that won't be done right away, but just let me know what you guys want to know about me. As you can see, I do work with a lot of herbs. I make sprays, I make tinctures, I make teas, I make incenses, I make oils. I have some oils here that I'm making. I just strained my lavender oil today, and I'm very happy with the consistency, and it smells like lavender. I've been using dried herbs, not fresh. And the reason why is because they go bad. And I'd rather work with something that's not going to go bad, something volatile. I'd rather work with something kind of guaranteed. So this is rose oil. It will be done next week. You shake it every day. All dried roses, and I just added almond oil, medicinal grade almond oil. Can't wait to smell this one. But yeah, so I also will make essential oil blends. My main work right now is deity work. I do work with quite a few deities. I work with Kronos. He is the Celtic god of death and rebirth. He's also god of wild animals and nature. So I like to work with him. He's a very protective presence in my life. I work with Bridget as a goddess and as a saint, because she survived the Crusades. Woohoo, girl power. She is a triple goddess, but she's not like a maiden mother crone goddess. She is the goddess of healing, poetry, and smithcraft. So if you take, well, when are you ever going to use smithcraft? Smithcraft is transformation. That's all it is. It's taking something in a solid form and molding it into something useful. So I work with her with a lot of my transformational magic, which all magic really is. You're transforming something to make it better. So I work with her a lot. She's very inspiring. And the new goddess that, she's not new, she's new to me. My newest goddess that I'm working with for the cold months, so autumn and winter, I'll be working with the Morrigan and her aspects of Anu, Maca, and Bathe. I'm going to be working with those three aspects. There are several aspects. I mean, she's a shape-shifting goddess, so she has a lot of animal magic in her corner. So I've been working with crow medicine, raven medicine, and wolf medicine, and a little bit of eel medicine. So these are all included in the Morrigan, in studying the Morrigan. Fascinating stuff. I do work professionally as a tarot reader, but my sessions are more like shadow work. We are going to really expose the problems that are in your life as I see them through the cards, and then we work on bettering your situation. I have worked with battered women. I have worked with the mentally ill. I have worked with people with autism. I have worked with people who are dying, people who are young and just want a direction to go to. So I generally work with a lot of different people. And it's not just, oh my gosh, you have something terrible happening. For $5,000, I will remove that generational curse you have on you and help your marriage. I am not that girl. We got to go back to my studies, my metaphysical studies, that I am always learning. So in my readings, I put a lot of metaphysical principles in with my teachings, in with my advisement, I'll say. Not a counselor yet. I'm getting there. This is kind of me, who I am now. Got my cottage about 4 months ago, and it is a sanctuary. I love it. I have an open space for ritual as well. Love to have people over for Sabbaths. So if you decide to get a reading with me, this is what you'll see mostly. I will, go through those cards and pick out those important things, important talking points, and mix them in with the tarot reading. So I'm not just a tarot reader. I use tarot to open to different things, and it usually ends in shadow work and a very positive outlook on your perspective. So I don't just give you like a death sentence, like this is going to be horrible for the next 6 months. But I will see something like, this is something you should avoid. So let's work on how we can avoid that happening. So that's kind of how I do my readings. With my mentorships are very personal. Some of it's done in the shop, some of it's done at my home because we get hands-on here. But I teach my Wicca 101 from a viewpoint of, let's get those basics. And I've had quite a few people like, I just want the spell work. I just want to be able to put someone in the freezer. I just want to be able to do a jar spell. I just want to be able to do this. You can't get there by jumping in. It has to be gradual, and that's just a respect for the craft. Anything worth doing is worth doing educated. So where to get your education? Well, if you're not going to have an apprenticeship with me or a mentorship with me, please read reputable authors. What do I mean by that? Very entertaining TikTok. Very entertaining. Not for your education. Now, some people will disagree, and that's fine. No one has to agree with me. I have just noticed that I have some students who watch a lot of TikTok, and they want to practice the things that they see in TikTok. Go for it. I will say that there are a lot of scammers out there. I will say that there are a lot of people doing whatever the hell they want to do without the education. So really know where that information is coming from. So if you absolutely have to use YouTube and TikTok as your education, reputable authors, reputable channels, people who have been doing this a while, I would say start there. Definitely start there. And if you happen upon a Witchcraft 101 book that you really don't vibe with, they're not all like that. So don't get, oh, I can't because I don't like how this person is expressing it. I went through this when I first started, and I found a book. I'm like, this is great. I want more like it. And then I went out and I bought a lot of books, and half the time were shit. It's shit, you know? And now we have algorithm generated books. Don't recommend them, but it's hard to know. It's hard to know which books those are and which books aren't. So here's a way that you can kind of find out. If it's a book of value, it will have a bibliography or a resource cited page. For instance, got Laura Tempest Zarkroft's Sigil Witchery here. Going to be reading that. And when I look in the back, she has an entire bibliography for everything she writes about. Pages and pages of it. So if you get a book that, oh my gosh, I found this book, it's so cheap, look in the back. Do they cite their sources? Do they have recommended books that you can read that are like what you read? That's how you know they are reputable authors. Well, I think this video turned out to be a lot longer than I wanted it to be. If you have any questions or ideas for videos, please let me know in the comments. And as I get used to using YouTube, I will get better. Just bear with me. I'm a newbie on here, but not a newbie to the craft. So I've been around a little while. So that's all for this video. I want to say thank you. Blessed be, and have a wonderful day.